everybody. Ben Adler, Ilan Kidron right here. מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד
We will be starting the formalities in 5 minutes. Thank you.
I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming.
And the blood will dry underneath my nails, and the wind will rise up to fill my sails. So you can down and you can hate, but I know no matter what it takes, I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they're fighting for my sake. I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming.
Still far away from where I belong, but it's always darkest before the dawn. And you can't doubt, and you can't hate, but I know no matter what it takes, I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my king awaits, and they're fighting for my sake. I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming. I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they're fighting for my sake. I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home.
Shalom. Today we gather on the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of these ancient lands where their ancestors once walked, lived and survived for thousands of generations. I acknowledge the inherent responsibility of culture and traditional practices passed on by the elders of this country to generations to protect and maintain the sacred sites and customs. I'm a visitor to the Gadigal people's land. I am Yaru, Lungagidja and Bunich-Gagaju. Like all Aboriginal people, we acknowledge that our sovereignty to the lands has never been ceded. Just like you, the Jewish people, whose sovereignty to the land of Israel has also never been ceded. We have both maintained a profound bond with our lands, despite thousands of years of exile, dispossession, and injustice. Just as you all have an unbroken connection to the land of Israel, I too carry the legacy of our ancestors. Both Israel and this land hold stories of survival, identity, sacredness, language, song, and sovereignty. Ani mitzta eret ha-makot. I offer my deepest condolences to all Jewish people. For the lives lost, I am truly sorry. To the families mourning their loved ones, I am sorry. And I pray with you all for the safe return of those still held captive. I stand with you in your grief, praying for peace in Israel, your homeland. Israel is a light unto the nations, extending its hand to help countries across the world, from disaster relief to technological aid, improving lives beyond its borders. These contributions have never just been local, they are global, showing the world the power of resilience, innovation, and compassion. Tukon olam, the responsibility to repair the world, is a powerful strength of your faith. You do not just live for yourselves, but for the betterment of humanity and mankind. Tukon olam is deeply embedded in the spirit of the Jewish people, guiding your actions to restore justice, promote kindness, and build peace. The existence of one Jewish state, Israel, has a profound significance. It is a land where you've lived out this mission, not just for yourself, but for the whole world. Today, as you always, you continue to stand tall, unbroken, unbowed. You are a testament to the strength of a people who have faced every Goliath and emerged victorious. Because of your faith, you seek to repair and improve the world. You pursue peace. You represent hope. In the face of immense sorrow and loss, the resilience and strength of the Jewish people continue to shine. Throughout history's darkest chapters, your enduring faith, unity, and commitment to justice have been a beacon of hope for future generations. In these challenging times, may you find comfort in the solidarity of those who stand with you. May you find the love within your communities grow even stronger. Your legacy is one of perseverance, compassion, and a deep-rooted belief in the triumph of light over darkness. The world will continue to witness the strength of your spirit, with no atrocity can extinguish. Like the ancient Dead Sea Scrolls that tell the story of your survival and identity, so too does the sacred landscape of Australia for me. From my country, Kakadu, to your Masada, both places speak of strength, continuity, and a deep connection to the land. Kakadu is our Masada, a place where resilience is not only remembered, but lived. Through our struggles, are distinct, the Jewish and Aboriginal peoples share a common thread of resistance against erasure and an unwavering bond to the land as a foundation of our identity. I'm Israel Hai. The people of Israel live, not only in spirit, but in reality, standing proudly in your homeland of Israel and within this Australian land as well. Your history, your struggle, and your triumphs have shaped both nations. The Jewish people will continue to shape the future, contributing to the peace and prosperity of every land they call home. They say Only in the darkness do we see the stars. Your Magen David is your enduring symbol for a reason. It is everything the Jewish people are, the light in the darkness. I see you, I believe you, and I believe in you. May be the source of strength who blessed the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us all say Amen. Toda Rabba, Am Yisrael Chai.
Erev Tov. On October 7, 2023, I was in Israel, near Tel Aviv Beach, and I was woken by sirens at 6:29 a.m. The shock, disbelief, and understanding of that vicious brutality took me many months to process, but I, along with you all, have come a long way. Back in May, at our community Yom HaZikaron ceremony, I concluded by sharing a quote that hung on an enormous billboard at the entrance to Jerusalem. It was the final words of Soldier Sergeant Roy Dawi, Zichrono Livracha, and it said, Rak titchazku mihakol. Just get stronger from everything. Just get stronger from everything. And this is exactly what we all did and needed to do from October 8 onwards. And this is what we will do tonight. We stand together as one, Am Achad, united together. And you know what? We are all just getting stronger and more united from everything. It's who we are. On behalf of the Zionist Council of New South Wales and the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies, it is an honour to welcome you tonight to United Together, the New South Wales Jewish community's official ceremony to honour and commemorate the 1,200 innocent men, women, children, the elderly and babies who were brutally massacred on October 7 and later in captivity. We cannot forget the horrors that they endured, including the atrocities of rape, unspeakable violence that have left scars, deep scars on our collective consciousness. We also remember the brave soldiers who have given their lives defending Israel, and we pray for the return of the 101 hostages. Bring them home now. Tonight, we embrace Zikaron, the power of remembrance, as we come together in solidarity. Tonight, we will also reflect on Gvura, on the spirit and strength and bravery with stories of heroes in Israel and amongst us here in our wonderful community. Tikva, hope, is our third focus for the evening. We must always look towards a brighter future. Hope is our guiding light. We hope for the safe return of the 101 hostages. We hope for security for all Jews, whether in Israel or here in New South Wales, for us all to be able to celebrate who we are, our identity, and live freely and without fear. Friends, better days are coming, we know that. Better days are coming to Medinat Yisrael and to us as the Jewish world. We gather tonight to mark this event, fully aware that the challenges we and Israel face are far, far from over. This moment resonates deeply with those in Israel who feel that our focus should reflect the ongoing struggle. Together, we stand in solidarity, knowing brighter days are coming, while holding tightly to the pain of the present. Since October 7, each one of us is on a mission. Each one of us has a purpose. You have a role in the recovery. We are coming back stronger and more united. B'yachad, together. We at the Zionist Council of New South Wales are committed to our goal, our matara, our purpose, which is to connect our community and the people of Sydney and New South Wales with the people of Israel and Judaism. The Zionist Council has a long and proud 85-year history, but in the last 12 months we've been active like never before. We brought survivors from the kibbutzim in the south, and we brought survivors from the Nova Festival. We brought you Israeli experts on medicine, education, trauma and resilience, governance, social media influencers, so many visitors. We do this because Israelis teach us how to have hope, and they show us how to be strong and how to see beyond the here and the now. With them and with inspiring people from our own community, I believe we did become stronger. The Zionist Council is proud to lead, together with our partner tonight, the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies, and we welcome you all tonight to a night of remembrance, heroism and hope, a night of unity. Tonight we have the privilege of hearing from the Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, the Leader of the New South Wales Opposition, Mark Speakman, the Federal Minister for Health, Mark Butler, and the Federal Leader of the Opposition, Peter Dutton. We would also like to thank the many ministers and MPs and from state and federal parliament, commissioners and secretaries from various government departments, and mayors and deputy mayors and councillors from New South Wales. We are also very fortunate to be joined by ambassadors and consuls from around the world, and our interfaith friends representing so many diverse faith communities, and so many other distinguished guests. We are very grateful for your presence and support tonight. Thank you for the presence of all of our distinguished guests, who are too numerous to name individually. I'd also like to send a final special welcome to our regional Jewish communities who are gathered tonight in Newcastle, the Southern Highlands, Coffs Harbour, the Blue Mountains and the Northern Rivers region. They're watching live tonight to connect our community all around New South Wales. I invite you now to share in this deeply meaningful evening of contemplation and connection. Am Yisrael Chai.
Please rise for the memorial prayer. El Molei Rachamim Dayan Almanot Vavi Yetomim Hametzei menucha nechona b'tzeil kanfei hashchina b'ma'alot קדושים, קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים. לנשמות הקדושים והגיבורים, אנשים, נשים וטף, שנהרגו ושנרצחו, שנשרפו ושנטבחו בידי מרצחי החמאס בני הבליעל יימח שמם, ושנפלו חלל על קידוש השם. בעבור שכל עם ישראל במדינה ובגולה מתייחדים עם זכרם הקדוש ומתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם הזכות בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. לא כן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם וינוחו בשלום על משכבותם. ינקום אלוהים את נקמת דמם השפוך ונאמר אמן.
Please remain standing for a minute of silence.
On October 7, I danced with my friends in the Nova Festival. We was so happy until the music stopped. At 6:30 in the morning, my life is changed forever. I hiding under a tank, IDF tank, for 7 hours. At 8 in the morning, the terrorists, they saw me, and they shot me there. I was there, bleeding for 7 hours, calling to my mom, and I said, "Mom, I love you, but I think I'm gonna die because they shot me and I'm bleeding and nobody coming." In this day, I lost 10 of my friends, and 2 of my friends were kidnapped to Gaza, and they're still there until today. But after 1 month, I understand that I'm still alive, and I need to do something for the hostages, something for the survivor, and something for all the people who murder in this festival. I came here to keep telling my story and make sure people understand what happened to us in this day and what still happened in Israel. And also to fight to bring all the hostages home. It's so important for me to keep telling not only my story, also the story of my friends that they did not survive, like Ben. Ben's success to get out of this area, but he begged, try to help us. 3 times he begged to hell, and he saved 12 people until they murdered. He was a hero. So for Ben and for all the beautiful souls, I'm here. To be here today with all Australian community, it's a powerful experience for me, because never again, it's now, and we can't be silenced. I'm here today to bring the light and hope, because Am Yisrael Chai, and for sure, I promise, we will dance again.
I acknowledge country and thank the Council and the Board of Deputies for bringing us together this evening in this deeply solemn occasion. Almost 12 months ago, we gathered a short distance from here in deep, deep shock at the brutal terrorist attacks by Hamas on October 7th last year. 1,200 innocent lives taken, 250 hostages ripped from their home, 97 of whom remain stuck in tunnels under Gaza today. Bring them home. That horrific attack from Israel's south was followed the very next day by rockets fired from her north by Hezbollah, with now 9,000 or more fired across these last 12 months. And most recently, more than 180 missiles fired from Iran. Coordinated attacks from her south, her north, and her east by terror groups and a nation-state openly committed to the destruction of Israel, the only Jewish state on the planet. Of course, Israel has the right to defend itself and respond to these attacks. As President Biden has said, a military response must be proportionate, but no self-respecting nation would fail to defend itself if attacked the way Israel has been. But I want to address what's happening in our own country right now. My great-great-great-grandparents, Abraham and Sarah, migrated to Australia 150 years ago to join a growing Jewish community in Melbourne that was able to participate fully in civic and commercial life, and which gave Australia in time its first locally born Governor-General and its greatest ever soldier. And after the war, Australia welcomed more Jewish migrants after enthusiastically supporting the creation of the State of Israel, a decision I will always remain unshakably proud of. But that environment that allowed Jewish Australians to live full, contributing lives, largely unmolested by the anti-Semitism that has been so rife in so many other parts of the world is under real threat today. From an unholy collection of disparate groups coming together, spewing hate and openly chanting slogans that urged the destruction of the only Jewish state on the planet, the celebration of terror groups on our streets, the intimidation of Jewish students on campus, and so much more exclusion right throughout civic, commercial, and academic life. It's only Jewish parents who have to watch their children walk into schools surrounded by security fences and guards. Only Jewish aged care facilities subjected to threats and vandalism since October 7 have had to hire security guards on police advice. Older Jewish Australians, including Holocaust survivors, spending their final months on this earth under guard. No other older Australian lives this reality. I know the conflict started by Hamas 12 months ago, and the loss of so many innocent lives is causing deep pain across our community. I also know our country has never been perfect. No country is. There are a range of prejudices that raise their ugly head here, as they do in every country the world over. But history's oldest prejudice, its oldest hatred, anti-Semitism, is growing and spreading in Australia in a way we've never seen before, in a way that is simply unique. Unique in its scale and unique in its character. And I acknowledge the deep pain and the deep fear this is causing Jewish Australians. It must be confronted, it must be called out, and it must stop.
Friends, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and pay my respects to elders past and present. Orli Zahava, the President of the Zionist Council, Rabbi Shua Solomon, President of the Rabbinical Council, David Ossip from the Jewish Board of Deputies, the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, Darren Bark, and many other distinguished and esteemed organisations. It would ordinarily be my obligation to say that I would this week have the responsibility to wish the Jewish community of Sydney a Happy New Year and hope that you are finding happiness and joy in your family, friends and faith. Shana Tova Umatuka. Have a sweet year would be my expected greeting. But the sad truth is that we're here not to commemorate this ancient high holiday that Jews have been celebrating for over 5,700 years. For we're all too aware that happiness and joy are hard to conjure tonight for Jewish people, the people of Israel, and those that love peace around the world. We are gathered not to celebrate but to grieve and remember. 12 months ago we saw a horrifying crime, unexpected and devastating. The murders, the killings, the kidnappings. We need to make it clear that the killing of innocent people on October the 7th by Hamas is a great crime. There is no context, no history, no perspective that can ever justify the murder of an infant in her cot in front of her mother, the killing of an unarmed Holocaust survivor, or the massacre of children dancing in the desert. And friends, no just society would ever make that claim. As shameful as it sounds, the horrors of anti-Semitism is not hermetically sealed in the history books or even confined to conflicts in the Middle East. We need to acknowledge, shamefully, that it's here in Australia today. And tonight, it's also an important opportunity to stand against anti-Semitism. I'm very conscious that Jewish people have travelled to this country in search of refuge and safety, to a land of freedom and tolerance on the far side of the world. And I'd like to think more often than not, your parents, yourselves have found it. But I also know that this year has been different. Over the past year, I've met with many Jewish community leaders, the Israeli ambassador, synagogues, rabbis, and perhaps most heartbreakingly with young Jewish students who've been very, very clear with me that they feel less safe than they did a year ago, and that the poison of anti-Semitism is being expressed with a confidence that they haven't seen for a long time. And we can't change the hate in people's hearts, but we can call it for what it is, and that is racism. There is no qualification, there is no situation, it is vilification, and in modern Australia, it is intolerable. As I said, there's great sadness tonight, but in this crowd I look about and there's no symbols of hate or violence. Part of that sadness is an acknowledgement of the stories of those who were killed or taken on October the 7th. The bitter irony is that so many people living near the Gazan border or dancing at the Nova Festival who were cruelly murdered or taken hostage were some of Israel's most fervent advocates for peace. Young people optimistic about the future, living in hope at what would feel like a hopeless situation, but raised on the idea of a better tomorrow. Now, some cynics might put this down to the average age of the Nova festival goer at just 26 years of age. Maybe they think it's the folly of youth. However, that youthful exuberance, that hope, is as intrinsic to the state of Israel as the promise by God to Abraham of a homeland for the Jewish people. For Scripture says, though the righteous one will fall 7 times, he will rise. This invocation is one that acknowledges pain and struggle and loss and death, but also the promise of resistance and stoicism, the promise of rising. Friends, it's the perfect metaphor for the state of Israel and the Jewish people of Australia. David Ben-Gurion himself said, in Israel, anyone who doesn't believe in miracles is not a realist. So while grief is understandable and healing will take time, we can't lose hope. And knowing the Jewish people of Australia the way I do, knowing the justifiable pride in all that has been accomplished by your families and communities in Australia, by people arriving to this country with nothing in the shadow of the horrors of the Holocaust, I know that even on a sad night of remembrance, you will still allow me to wish you a happy, healthy, sweet, and most importantly, hopeful New Year. Rosh Hashanah, Shana Tova.
Friends, a year later, it is simply unbelievable that this prayer still needs to be said and the hostages have still not returned home. Since October 7th, we have never stopped thinking and praying for the hostages and saying loud and clear, bring them home. Prayer for the hostages. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless, preserve, and protect the captives and missing soldiers of the citizens of Israel and the Israel Defense Forces. May God rescue them from captivity and speedily restore them in peace. May God show them mercy, increase their strength, remove their pain, and send them a recovery of body and spirit. May God return them to their families swiftly and soon, and let us say, Amen. Acheinu kol beit Yisrael, הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה, המקום ירחם עליהם, ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה, ומאפלה ליאורה, ומשעבוד לגאולה, השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן.
Just before I start, well, good night, everyone. My name is Yuval, and I'm 21 years old, living in the north of Israel in a town named Kiryat Shmona, which you have probably heard on the news a lot lately. We've been evacuated for a year, and actually a year ago, on October 7th, I was deployed in the south of Israel, right on the Gaza border. And me and my team, 6:30 in the morning, first wave of rockets coming by. Got inside the armored vehicle, texted my dad, rockets above us, talk to you later. 5 minutes later, we got the call there is terrorists inside the nearest kibbutz. We have to go there. Me and my team quickly stormed towards the border with the armored vehicle. As soon as we got there, we saw hundreds of terrorists already inside Israel, facing us 50 meters away. On the way there, we already got hit with the first rocket. And as soon as we saw them, they saw us launch a lot of 5 RPGs at the first 5 minutes. The armored vehicle got disabled. We were stuck inside a box surrounded by 50 terrorists, started climbing on the armored vehicle, started trying to open the doors, trying to get the grenade inside, and they haven't managed to get that. And for hours sitting there helplessly, no signal on our phone, no way to call for help. And at one point, one of the terrorists went underneath the armored vehicle and sticked an explosive bomb. That's where I got injured. I flew on my friends and had an open fracture, and my tibia bone was completely shattered. And at those moments, my parents don't know what's going on, family, friends, nobody knows what's going on there. All they see is on the news, tanks getting blown up on the south. They know I'm there, and my dad told me he was sure that I'm not alive anymore. 5 hours later, after being stuck inside the armored vehicle for 6 hours, even 7, the rescue team managed to get us and get me to the hospital, and I was very lucky to keep my leg because I had 2 tourniquets on for 5.5 hours, which usually you have to cut off the leg, and having my leg is a blessing. But the hardest part was the day after, waking up 8 in the morning, watching the news, and then the news reporter says they can publish a name of soldiers that haven't made it. And suddenly you see a name of your friend, and that's the moment where your heart just stops, life stops, and you're just staring at the news, shocked. First thing, called his mom, hearing her voice, hearing her screams, and how the way she talks was heartbreaking. There really is no words that can describe what's going on there. But I'm not here to make you cry or to make you feel sorry for me. I am here to show you that even after being injured, even after not being at my home for 1 year, and even losing friends at the age of 20, nothing prepares you for that. But I'm here to show you that we cannot forget that our nation have faced challenges before. But each time we have emerged stronger, more united, and more determined to build a better future. And looking at our people, I'm more confident than ever that we will do the same again. We need to draw courage from our resilience and hope from our unity. We, the Jewish people that has faced so many tough times throughout our history, again and again and again, but each time we came back stronger than before. We came back stronger than before. We are part of people who rise up again and again, and we can't forget that. As we mourn those who have lost their life, we have to let their honor and their memory by committing to a future of solidarity and strength. Let us reach out to one another, embracing our differences while standing together as one person. In our darkest moments, we must find the resolve to support each other, because it's in the community that we find the hope in. Together we will heal, we will rebuild, and we will rise up again. As I finish, I would like to say that we are all wishing for the safety of the soldiers and them making it back home safely. A speed recovery for all the people that got injured, and of course the return of all the hostages. Thank you.
אם אשכחך ירושלים, תשכח ימיני, תדבק לשוני לחיקי, לא אשכחי. אם אשכחך ירושלים, תשכח ימיני, תדבק לשוני לחיקי, אם לא אשכחי. אם לא
Friends, thank you very much for a very warm welcome, and thank you for being here tonight. I want to say thank you very much to Nova Peris for her acknowledgement of country and also for her bravery, for what she's done for our country, for the people of Israel. Can I also tonight acknowledge the Premier of New South Wales, the Leader of the Opposition, Mark Speakman, the Minister for Health and Aged Care representing the Prime Minister, Mark Butler, to my colleagues Andrew Bragg, to the amazing Ro Knox, to my many colleagues who are here today, including Julie and Lisa. Thank you so much to the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies, to the Zionist Council of New South Wales, to every brave individual here tonight. Friends, Israel was at the epicentre of Hamas's evil on October 7 last year, but the shockwaves of that terrorist attack resonated around the world. That day of depravity, the greatest loss of Jewish life on a single day since the Holocaust, awoke and exposed an anti-Semitic rot afflicting Western democracies. On this, the first anniversary of October 7, and given all we've seen since then, several things are important. Memory is important. Even today, there are people seeking to distort, to deny and defend the barbarism that took place on October 7, despite all the evidence. Evil endures where the truth is twisted, and so we must prevent perversions of the past. It's our duty to commit to our national memory the horrors and the heartbreak of October 7, but also the Israeli heroism which confronted evil and continues to fight evil to this day. What else is important? Moral clarity is important because frankly there hasn't been enough of it. Instead, we've seen a moral fog. We've seen a moral fog of moral ambiguity, of moral equivalence and of immorality. Just days after October 7, we saw protesters chanting slogans calling for the extermination of Israel. And they haven't stopped since. As soon as Israel took the fight to Hamas, we began to hear unreasonable calls for immediate restraint. Calls for Israel to not look back in anger. Calls for Israel to de-escalate and pause its military response. Now, such calls have persisted despite hostages remaining in chains and being executed. Such calls have endured despite Hamas remaining operative and Hezbollah raining down rockets on Israel. Those making such calls hold Israel to a standard they would never expect or accept of themselves. And following the shocking events on the steps of the Sydney Opera House, there's been a vacuum of leadership. In that vacuum, intolerable incidents have been tolerated. In that vacuum, intolerable incidents have been tolerated, and in each intolerable incident has emboldened the next. The last 12 months constitute one of the most difficult periods for Jewish Australians in our nation's history. So in the interest of moral clarity, let me be clear. Israel has every right to defend its territory and its people from existential threats. From Hamas, from Hezbollah, from the Houthis and from the Iranian regime which sponsors them all. This is a time to distinguish the lawful from the lawless, civilization from barbarism and good from evil. This is a time to speak truthfully about the threat of anti-Semitism in our great country. Anti-Semitism is not only a threat to one segment of our community, it is a threat to our social cohesion, to our democratic values and to our way of life. The late and great Christopher Hitchens called anti-Semitism the godfather of racism. He described it as the common enemy of humanity and of civilization. And for that reason, he said it has to be fought against and tenaciously, and we will. I'm determined that together we will turn the tide of anti-Semitism afflicting our country. A coalition government under my leadership will restore moral clarity and act with moral courage. We will make it clear that the law must be enforced readily, not reluctantly, against those inciting hatred and violence. We will hold a judicial inquiry into anti-Semitism on our university campuses because the Jewish community deserves no less. And we will ensure that young Australians are equipped with a shield of knowledge to deflect Jewish hatred. As one measure, a coalition government will commit $8.5 million to support the expansion of the Sydney Jewish Museum. Every Australian child will understand this evil and will... Every Australian child, through their education, will understand the evils of the past and the evils of the present. But what else is important? Fellowship and friendship are important. Standing with our ally Israel rather than treating her as an adversary. Supporting Australians of Jewish faith because you are cherished Australian citizens. I've been proud to do both, and not only in words. I travelled to Israel and I listened to survivors, to families whose loved ones have been murdered or taken hostage. And we listened to the bravery of those young people before, and we should always hold them in our hearts. I met with President Herzog, with the Prime Minister and with the Foreign Minister. In Australia, together we've attended vigils, we've addressed synagogue services and paid respect to Holocaust museums. And I can tell you that what I've seen in every case, I've seen the Jewish spirit at play, a spirit characterised by strength, by solidarity and by survival. The spirit has seen the Jewish people overcome every trial and tribulation that they've faced in history, be it subjugation, prosecution, persecution, dispossession, exile and massacre. That same spirit will see the Jewish people today in Israel, in Australia and around the world prevail over present ordeals. But friends, my most important message today is to the millions of Australians who, like generations of Australians past, know the difference between right and wrong. Australians who appreciate the sacrifice of men and women in uniform who fought tyranny and evil in times of war so that we might live in a time of peace. Australians who understand that the fight for freedom and peace and stability will never end as long as evil exists in this world. Many Australians will be watching the Middle East at the moment and seeing familiar footage of a far-off war with claims and counterclaims. People will say, this is not our fight. Why is it relevant to us? Or let's just be friends with everyone. The same reluctance and attitude existed in the world in the minds of many decent people in the 1930s. In the 1930s, Europe was at threat from a murderous dictator, in the same way that Israel is today facing the same evil. River to the Sea isn't just a rhetorical chant of radical university students. It is a stated intent to wipe Israel and the Jewish people off the map. And the parallels between the Holocaust and October 7 are eerie. If we don't take a strong stance now, we risk repeating the mistakes of the 1930s. And that is why Australians should be inspired by the bravery of generations past, to stand up for our values today and into the future, to argue for right over wrong, to stand up for democracy over tyranny, to defeat the evil that we see in terrorist groups, in this case the evil perpetrated against human beings just because they are Jewish. And it shouldn't be forgotten, evil treatment, of course, of their own people by hiding bombs and building tunnels under hospitals, under schools and under residential buildings. By slaughtering women and children in acts of barbarity. For that is what this debate is about. We are on the side of civilisation over barbarity. And that is why every Australian, drawing on their instincts of decency and a fair go, must join with Jewish Australians to reject the anti-Semitism, wherever it's witnessed on our streets, in our universities, across society over the last 12 months. The anti-Semitism on display today and in recent days as people march with flags and black hearts to celebrate the first anniversary of 1,200 people being slaughtered, raped, brutalised and held captive. It's why I describe this as the most shocking period of our country in my lifetime. And to every Australian, we are at our best when we stand up for our beliefs, even if it's easier to look the other way, or it's happening across the other side of the world far from us. This fight is about keeping our country safe. It's not right that Jewish schools have armed guards. It's not right that fellow Australians, including Holocaust survivors, feel unsafe in this country for the first time. It's not right that people are ostracised or vilified because of their surname or their physical appearance or their heritage. We would not tolerate such racism and discrimination toward any other section of Australian society. And we're being told it's acceptable against Australians of Jewish descent. Together today, we pay our respects to the memories of the 1,200 innocent people murdered on October 7, Together today, we pray for the hostages still held by Hamas. Together today, we grieve for the families who have lost those dearest to them. But together today, we roar courageously and confidently in the face of evil. The enemies of Israel and the peddlers of Jewish hate will never win.
On this day of remembrance, Yom HaZikaron, I wish everyone Shana Tova Umetuka. I asked Rabbi Levi Wolf in Shul last week, is it okay that we do that? He said, definitely. It's important that we do that. We're not wishing ourselves that this is a Happy New Year. We're wishing ourselves that we have a Happy New Year. That we have a peaceful year ahead, a sweet year ahead. We wish for our hostages to come home. We wish the safety of our soldiers. And we wish for peace in Israel and all the people of Israel, in Israel and in the diaspora. I'm humbled to be here today, standing after listening to Michal give us her story from the Nova Festival. I'm humbled to be here after Yuval, the brave, brave young IDF soldier. I feel very privileged to follow Peter Dutton and Chris Minns. These are politicians from the opposite side of politics, yet they are bound by strong leadership of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is evil, and they are unbelievably strong supporters of the Jewish community in Australia and of Israel. I also want to acknowledge here tonight former Prime Minister Scott Morrison for his unwavering support and leadership. I have been privileged to be the chair of the World Board of Trustees of Keren Hayesod for the past 5 years. Keren Hayesod is an organization, one of the 4 institutions of Israel, 104 years old. And it is there for the connection of the diaspora to the people of Israel. In that role, I have visited Israel 6 times since October the 7th, and I know that many, many, many of you here have also visited Israel, so you can truly bear witness to the atrocities that took place on that day. Many of you have visited places like Kfar Aza, Be'eri, Nir Oz, Nachal Oz, and the other kibbutzim and communities of the Gaza envelope. And many of you have been there just to lend a hand to support our fellow Jews in Israel and to support them in any way possible. I was privileged to go to Israel the first week after that terrible tragedy of October the 7th. Of course, those of us who have been there have many, many, many stories. In the first 24 hours, I visited Shiva homes of 6 fallen Israelis. I'll tell you one quick story. I visited a home. I went to a home, but there were 3 families in that home. 3 boys from the Nova Festival, Adir, Matan, and Ilay all died at the festival. I saw 3 parents, 3 sets of families, all grieving. All the boys were best friends, 23 years old. 2 of the boys were born on the same day and therefore tragically died on the same day. As we were about to leave, one of the girlfriends of one of the boys shouted out to us, "I must tell you how my boyfriend and the boys died." They were all huddled in a small little building, almost like a garden, garbage type place. And the boys and the girls were together. They could hear the terrorists outside. They knew they were about to die. The boys bravely gave themselves up, said goodbye to their girlfriends, ran out of the little facility where they were, distracted them, fought them, and sadly they died because they had no weapons, and the girls survived. Those are the type of stories that we heard. I felt completely inadequate and unprepared for that occasion. It brought me back to remembering the stories that we all know of the Holocaust. It's been 80 years since Jews have died just because they were Jewish. It brought me back to the story of my own grandfather in Auschwitz, who died just because he was Jewish. One of the fathers had the most unbelievable strength. He drove down to the Nova Festival site. He sadly saw his son dead. He had the strength of character. Somehow he gathered himself. He collected 8 injured, basically other young boys and girls who were shot, and took them to Barzilai Hospital. Just imagine having to face that situation, completely unprepared. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there is a prayer, Unasono Toikef, followed by Rosh Hashanah, where it is inscribed on Rosh Hashanah and it is sealed on Yom Kippur. Who will live and who will die? Who will live and who will die? One can't imagine that just over a year ago, those 1,200 souls who perished were saying that prayer and could never have imagined in their wildest dreams what would have occurred or their families. And saying it this year was all the more poignant. So I ask us, what can we do here in Sydney, Australia? What can the Jewish community here do? We have the most amazing community. I have had the privilege in my role as seeing so many communities around the world, and we are a very special community. And I'm told there are 12,000 of us here tonight. We are strong. We are united. But what can we do? Of course, at this time in history, we are at a very, very difficult time in history. So we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we can do? Those who have a lot, those who have a little. Those that can do a lot, those that can do a little. Everybody needs to stand up and work for the state of Israel, and everybody needs to stand up and work for our community. Our community is only strong because of its institutions. We need to double down on Jewish education. We need to double down on all of our institutions. This is the moment in time. If we miss one generation, history will be forgotten. I have a message for our enemies from October the 9th at the Sydney Opera House and since. Whether they chanted, F the Jews, gas the Jews, or where's the Jews, it doesn't matter. What matters is that there are 12,000 of us here right now. That's what matters. We are strong, we are united, and we are proud Australian Jews. Am Yisrael Chai.
Shalom
Shalom, everyone. Shalom, everyone. As a veteran of the Israeli Air Force, the events of October 7 left me deeply shocked and confused and raised profound questions about my identity. I used to believe that our capabilities made it possible to protect everyone. I believed in our capacity to send my friends from the Special Forces on a daring missions, trusting they would return safe by breakfast. I believe we were undefeated. But after that horrific day, I began to question everything. My identity as a veteran who could rely on our superior officers, my identity as an Israeli who traveled around the world, knowing that my homeland had my back, and perhaps the most important one, my identity as a Jewish woman who now truly understands the harsh realities of living in the Middle East. I felt like my world crumbling as I mourned friends on nearly a daily basis. It began with a simple phone call. Your officer died trying to save people in a kibbutz. Second phone call a few moments later, your friends are missing after attending a festival. The phone calls continued for many months later. So many people from my kindergarten, my high school, the Air Force, family members of friends who hosted me on Shabbat, and even people who lived on my street in Tel Aviv. For many of us, the phone call never stopped. How could this happen to us? I didn't have the answer, but I do have the power to decide how I respond. Somehow, through this unimaginable pain, I also found strength and clarity with you. Today, I feel deeper connection with my fellow veterans than ever before. Today, I better understand the pressing need of the Israeli Defense Force for my mother, for my friends, and for you, as Israel will always be your safe home in time of need. Since October 7, I became more involved with the Jewish community and the Israeli community in Australia, offering support and receiving it. The young Israeli community was heartbroken, and the Jewish community was there to offer love, help, and challah for Shabbat. Thank you for everybody who helped. Really, thank you. Today, I understand better why my parents and their parents fought so hard to protect Israel. And despite everything, I believe in hope. I'm proud to be an Israeli Air Force veteran who defend my people and my nation. I'm proud of my pilots and squads who fight for my family. I'm proud to be Israeli living in Australia, advocating for my people's rights for peace and respect. I'm proud to be part of this unique community and celebrate our faith and heritage. I'm grateful for all the Jews out there in Australia who help hundreds of lost backpackers to find faith, support, and love in the last year. We are a resilient nation. We will endure even when the world doubts our strengths. Together, we will face every challenge that comes in our way. Because we are Jewish, we are united, and we will rise now and always. Thank you.
Thank you, Hily. That was very powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just about to recite a very special prayer. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the prayer book, the Siddur, that I'm going to use to recite this prayer. Just a few weeks after the terrible massacre, I was with a mission from our community that visited Israel. One of the places we went to see was Kibbutz Be'eri. We were taken around by a member, a leader of the kibbutz, through scenes which many of you would have seen, or all of you would have noticed, pictures devastating beyond words. And then we went into the small little Bet Knesset, the small little shul of Be'eri. We all huddled together, and I picked up a siddur that was still sitting there from the last few weeks. And we started praying, and we thought about the 101 souls that were butchered in Kibbutz Be'eri. And we prayed for the 30 members of the little kibbutz who were in the dungeons of Gaza at that time. And after we finished davening, the leader of the kibbutz saw how connected we became in that prayer. And with me holding the siddur, he took the siddur, he gave it to me, and he said, Rabbi, take this prayer book. Take a piece of berry with you back to your community. And please pray for us together with your community. He never imagined that we would be praying with this little piece of berry together with 12,000 proud members here in Australia. But you know what else he never imagined? That we would have to be praying a year later, for over 101 of our brothers and sisters that are still languishing in the dungeons of Hamas and Gaza. Our enemies, they robbed them from their freedom and they attempted to kill our spirit. But one thing they can't do is take away our faith and take away our ability to be able to pray. And so, dear friends, on this most solemn day, sandwiched between the two sacred days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the gates of heaven are opened during these 10 days like never before. These are the holiest 10 days of the Jewish calendar. As I pray, I want you all to close your eyes and I want you to pray for those who are still being held in captivity, that the doors of their gates and dungeons are open for them. Pray for the healing of those families so that they can find comfort after losing children, parents, and siblings. Pray for the safe security of our IDF. Pray so that good can triumph over evil. And pray so that Am Yisrael, wherever we are, we can be safe and secure. I'm going to recite chapter 121. Shir lamaloi sesa einai Elohorim me'ayin yavo Yezri Ezri me'yim Adinoi oisei shamayim varetz al yitein lamoit raglecho al yonum shomrecho hine lo yonum v'lo yishon shomei Yisrael Adinoi shomrecho Adinoi tzilcha yad yaminecho yoimam hashemesh lo yakeko v'yoreach baloilo Adinoi yishmorcha mikol ra yishmor es nafshecho Adinoi yishmor tzeischo v'yecho me'ato v'yad olam. Dear friends, just before, we're going to show you a very beautiful video, a glimpse into the strength that this community has had since last October 7th, and also clips of many missions that have gone from this community to Israel. I want to do something unique. And that is, on Rosh Hashanah, each one of us has been to synagogue and we heard 100 blasts of the shofar. That's the requirement on Rosh Hashanah, 100 blasts. But you know what? We have 101 hostages that are waiting for us. And today, I'd like to give the 101st, the last blast, the 101 blast, in honor of them, that they merit final and ultimate redemption. Kindly rise for the shofar blowing.
I am completely blown away by the support and the unity and the strength of this community.
We will stand together with Israel, with each other, to pray, to hope for peace, to find comfort in each other's arms, to understand the true meaning of solidarity.
I stand here in solidarity representing the Australian Hindu, Catholic, Chinese, Assyrian, Iraqi community of Australia.
We must also stand united in the face of extremism, and we too must fight against hatred and division in all its forms.
ואת והשקט לא צריך כלום קרן שמש גם אם ייקח לנו זמן תראי שהכל מכוון נשב מסביב לשולחן אני מבטיח לך ש
God has a plan, and that plan is in this room.
הפרחים ישובו לפרוח תראי שיהיה טוב יהיה טוב
We are stakeholders in our community and our future, and no one take that from you.
הפרחים ישובו לפרוח, תראי שיהיה טוב, יהיה טוב, גם מתוך החושך ידלק האור.
The Jewish people are one. There is no Israel and the diaspora, no religious and secular, no Ashkenazi and Sephardi. We are together, one people, with one mission and one destiny.
Together we will succeed. Am Yisrael Chai.
We're very blessed to be here. Yeah, we're happy to stand by Israel in their time of need.
A beautiful human, she dropped off these items.
Thank you, Australia. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you, Australia. We love you.
Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you. Am Yisrael Chai. Amen.
ישובו לפרוח, תראה שיהיה טוב, יהיה טוב, גם אם יש עוד דרך לעבור ובסוף יהיה טוב, הפרחים ישובו לפרוח, תראה שיהיה טוב, יהיה טוב, גם מתוך החושך ידלק האור.
זה לא מסתדר, תגידי מה קורה איתך
הפרחים ישובו לפרוח, תראה שיהיה טוב, יהיה טוב. גם מתוך החושך ידלק האור.
Shalom Aleichem. Today is a day to remember, to reflect, and to recommit. It's a day to remember the victims of the barbaric, depraved attack on innocent people that saw 1,200 innocent lives lost through murder. To remember the 250 hostages that were taken and the many, many more lives that were shattered and upturned. It's a day to reflect. It's a day to reflect on the abhorrent nature of that violence and to wonder how people could have it in their hearts to be so cruel and so evil. It's a day to reflect on the agony of the families and friends of those who have suffered. It's a day to reflect on the centuries of ordeals and hostilities that the Jewish people have faced throughout the world, to which 7 October is now a notorious tradition. Adjacent to another day in infamy, the 50th anniversary of the 6th of October, which saw the unprovoked attack that started the Yom Kippur War. But it's not a day for despair when we reflect. It's not a day to throw up our hands. It's a day to recommit. It's a day to recommit to our values and to recommit to stand up to those values. It's a day to stand with Israel that has to defend itself against an existential threat to its existence. To stand with Israel, a beacon of liberal democracy in a sea of authoritarianism in the Middle East. It's a day to stand with the fight for good over evil and freedom over tyranny. It's a day to recommit to our multicultural values in New South Wales and Australia. We've long prided ourselves on having the most successful multicultural society in the world, where people are embraced no matter what their gender, their creed, their religion, their race. But we now see that under threat. So it's a day to recommit to zero tolerance for anti-Semitism. It's a day to stop it where it starts, to prevent any sort of hint of normalisation or tolerance of one iota of hatred or anti-Semitism. So today is a day to remember, to reflect, and to recommit. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Am Yisrael Hay. Thank you.
August 24, last year. I'm 25 years old, just finished 5 years in one of the toughest units in the IDF, Shaldag, the Air Force Special Forces. One of my best friends from my team, Rom Shlomi, picks me up from the airport in Thailand. We both knew that this was our time. After 5 years of extreme hardships, this was our time to relax, to have fun, to let that burden of 5 years to slip off our shoulders. We spent the whole week together, just enjoying the time after such a long service. On the last evening that we were together, we were sitting on this beautiful beach in Thailand, watching the sunset. He bought me a beer. I thought to myself, next time I'll buy him one. After that, we got on our motorcycles, and in the most casual way, he nodded me and said, See you later. Only 5 weeks after that beer, October 7th happened. I was on one of the remote islands in the Philippines when I started receiving these messages. It was clear to me that this was something else. So I immediately grabbed my stuff and rushed to the airport. And in a shaken van on the way, I received the message that Rom had been killed defending Reim. The same Rom that was shoulder to shoulder with me for 5 years. The same Rom that bought me a beer only 5 weeks earlier. When I arrived at the airport, I witnessed the Israeli spirit. The airport was packed with soldiers who desperately wanted to return home and fight. It was so packed that I had to sit on the toilet of the aircraft during the flight. I just didn't have a place to sit in. Once I arrived, I immediately returned to service. And at the first stage of the war, I spent weeks in the Gaza envelopes in the kibbutzim. The first house that I went into was in Nir Oz, a perfectly normal house, family photos on the walls, wedding photos, smiling babies photos. The last meal was still on the counter, but it smelled like death. All the photos were shattered. All the toys on the floor were broken. This is the first time that I actually saw pure evil. On the living room table, I saw a calendar with a countdown. The headline was, "Days until Mom comes back home from overseas." The last X was on October 6th. I immediately thought about two things. First, I used to make exactly the same calendar when I was a kid. Second, I thought about that mother. I thought about that she didn't have a place to return to. Not a house, not a family. For 8 months, I was in and out of Gaza. Most of the time, I was in a small team fighting in tunnels. Once again, I encountered the true Israeli spirit. Now, I fought with people that were 20, 30 years older than me. Still remember the FaceTime calls they did with their kids before we went in. I always refused to be called a hero. I was young, I had nothing to lose. They did. They had families, they had kids, job, literally risking their lives day after day. And only once you cross that border, you realize that there is no safe place. There were many situations when I felt like I was going to lose my life. A sniper shot at our hiding place, missing us by few inches. We were very close to a lot of harsh incidents. And it wasn't only my own life. My younger brother was supposed to go into Gaza as well. I don't know why, but I just had a terrible gut feeling about that, and I really hoped he wouldn't go. Fortunately, at the last minute, he didn't go in. Unfortunately, after 24 hours that his unit was there, Israeli tanks accidentally shot at his team, killing 5 soldiers and injuring more. Being so close to death all the time changes you. But for me, each time that I had a difficult time, I thought I held only one picture in my mind, and it was that calendar in Nir Oz. That calendar reminded me of the reason, that it's much bigger than me. It's much bigger than Israel. It's about fighting for life. I'm considering myself very lucky to be here today after that. Rome wasn't the only one that I've lost. Over the past year, I've lost more than 20 people. But if I have to find one common thread between all of them, I would say they all simply loved life. They all shared a deep sense of that sanctity of life. I want to share one last story. My dad lost his brother 20 years ago in Gaza. When the war started, he called me right before I went back to Israel. I beg you, don't come back. I lost one brother and have 2 more sons in the army. I don't know how I live if you die. I said to him, Dad, I'm not coming back to die. I'm coming back to live. As I stand here, and I'm in so much pain that it physically hurts, I close my eyes and I see Ram. And I don't see him fighting. I don't see him shooting. I see him kite surfing. I see him cooking. I see him on his motorcycle the last time I saw him. And that is the essence. That's why I'm still optimistic. Because I know that we are fighting for life. We are fighting because we deeply, undoubtedly believe in the sanctity of life. And I know that all of you here, all of us, share that deep sense of that sanctity. I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your deep and honest caring. You have no idea how healing it is. We are in this together. I love you. Am Yisrael Chai.
Esteemed members of the Sydney Jewish community, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Colonel Michael Scott, and I'm a 30-year veteran of the Australian Army and have served in East Timor, Bougainville, Iraq, and 2 tours of Afghanistan. Over the period 2019 to 2021, I served as a military peacekeeper operating in Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, residing with my wife Drisina in Jerusalem. We are not Jewish, but feel a deep affinity with the Jewish people. It is an honour to be here tonight as we commemorate this most difficult anniversary. My message is one of recognition, solidarity, strength and hope. Hope of better days to come. First, we recognise Israel's fallen and remain determined to bring the 101 hostages home. We remember the immense personal toll paid to defend our values and our way of life. Second, while it may not feel like it at times, you are not alone. There are critics, from the sinister to the silly, to paraphrase Douglas Murray. But many across Australia and around the world stand with Israel. Simchat Torah 5784 was made unnecessarily more painful. On the steps of the Opera House, on college campuses and in the media, we must stand in solidarity. Third, though it may not feel like it yet, and one must never become complacent, Israel is winning. I've seen strength in the eyes of many here tonight that you may not yet recognise in yourselves. Be strong. Keep being you. For my friends in the Jewish community, this has been a horrible year. Anti-Semitism is a scourge we must unite against. I, for one, will not be a bystander. Last month, I had the chance to return to Israel, a land I love from my time as a resident in Jerusalem. I reunited with many Israeli friends who are as close to me as kin. I was in Gaza with the IDF and witnessed them defending their home and our way of life. I saw Israeli volunteers in uniform, young and old, with love in their hearts, not hate. I saw the Israeli Defence Force for who it is, the most highly educated, lawful, ethical and moral military fighting force that world history has ever known, operating in a diabolical environment. As a soldier, I can empathise as they work to safely return hostages and to dismantle a vicious terrorist organisation. I wish to leave you with the inspirational words of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. From the day the State of Israel was proclaimed, it faced the hostility of neighbours, committed to its destruction. Yet it did not lose faith. It did not despair of peace. It pursued that hope even in the darkest hours. It built a country that gave dignity to Jews, to Christians, to Muslims and to Druze alike. It created a democracy in a part of the world that had not known democracy. It brought the Jewish people back into history and humanity back to the hope of peace. This is a difficult day amidst dire times. Be strong and of good spirit. While it won't happen just by itself, we will see better days. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Am Israel High.
Please sing along and join me as we pray for our holy land. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Tzur Yisrael vegoalo. Avinu, Avinu sheba shamayim tzur Yisrael vegoalo. Barech, barech et medinat Yisrael reshit tzmichat geulatenu hagen עליה בחברת חסדך ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך כולם ביחד אבי אב שבש צור ישראל וגואלו צור ישראל וגואלו. And now join me as we pray for the defenders of our holy land. Let's raise our voices together.
אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, הוא יברך את צבא ההגנה לישראל, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה ביבשה ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם. ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון, ויקוים בהם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר
Shalom, everyone. Today we want to speak to you about an inspiring and transformative journey, one that our young Jewish members in our community have undertaken since the events of October 7th. In the face of unprecedented challenges, we have witnessed the power of solidarity, resilience, and the emergence of young leaders who are stepping up in remarkable ways. Since October 7th, we have faced a war that has affected those overseas and also has rippled through our local community. The emotional toll has been immense. Many of us have felt the weight of uncertainty, fear, and sorrow. Alongside this, we have seen a disturbing rise in anti-Semitism, which the young Jewish community has fought and will continue fighting with your support.
But in times of adversity, we find strength in our community. Our youth movements have played an important role, serving as safe havens and guiding lights. Madrichim have stepped up to support our chanechim, providing not just leadership, but also emotional support. We have advocated for the safety of Jewish students on university campuses. We have facilitated discussions, organized gatherings, and created spaces for our young Jewish community to share their fears and their hopes. We have fostered a foundation of trust and resilience in our young Jewish community that will allow us to face challenges united. This commitment to each other is what makes our community so special.
Our educational institutions, youth movements, and orgies each play a role in shaping our response, and together we form an unbreakable, united front. On October 10th, we engaged in the major community rallies, demonstrating our resilience and unwavering commitment to stand together in the face of hardship. Just days later, on October 16th, we gathered for a touching tekes, a memorial that gave us the space to grieve, reflect, and process our emotions. We did this as one powerful community, recognizing that the Jewish people's right to exist is tied to our willingness to defend it. Together, we transform our pain into strength and solidarity. As Menachem Begin once said, we fight, therefore we are.
Events like AZYC Bogsam, where we engaged with Jewish texts and discussed our identity amidst the chaos, and DJ Alon, which brought hope and community spirit back into our lives, remind us that while we confront serious issues, we must never forget to celebrate our culture and traditions as one community. The Zikaron Barcelona events have been particularly poignant, honoring our history while reflecting on our present struggles and ultimately reminding us all that we are not alone.
As we look to the future, we must recognise the essential role we play as young leaders in our Sydney Jewish community. We are not merely participants in this community. We are key stakeholders actively shaping its direction. Each of our movements brings unique values and ideologies, but it is our unity that enables us to work together for a common purpose. This collective effort is our strength, and in such circumstances, we have never had to demand of each other more significantly. We have a responsibility to fulfill this duty, and we, the youth movements, are calling upon those who wish to join us.
Standing here tonight in our different chutzot, we reflect on the various challenges and experiences that we have all faced. But we remember that it is this diversity that enriches us, teaching us empathy, understanding, and collaboration. By supporting one another, we cultivate a robust network of leaders equipped to navigate not only the challenges we face today, but also those that lie ahead. The future of our community is bright because of the passion and dedication of our young leaders. We are the ones who will ensure that our community not only survives, but thrives. We will continue to advocate for our rights, stand against anti-Semitism, and celebrate our Jewish identity.
In this spirit, let us remember that we are stronger together. The challenges we face are daunting and overwhelming, but we are equipped to tackle them as a unified community. Through our collective efforts, we are not just responding to crisis. We are fostering a generation of new leaders who are committed to ensuring a vibrant and inclusive Jewish future in Sydney and beyond. We are calling upon you for your support, and thank you for being a part of these efforts. Together, we will rise, and we will lead, and we will inspire. And together, we say, Am Yisrael Chai.
A prayer for peace. Ribon ha'olamim, sovereign of the universe, send security and peace to your people Israel, in the state of Israel, your holy land, who live in fear and shed tears of grief for the young and old, parents and children. Melech shahashalom shelo, Almighty Sovereign, the Jewish people in your holy land and throughout the world seek security and peace, not war, the right to live as other nations and people live, and to be a blessing to others. Bring, we pray you, comfort to those who mourn, healing to the injured, freedom to the captive, strength and victory to the defenders of Israel, and hope where there is despair. May God, who brought our people back to the land, grant them safety in the land, and may the Eternal One who makes peace in high places grant peace over us, all Israel, and all the world. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu va'al kol Yisrael, va'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen.
Friends, good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Ossip, and I'm President of the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies. It is my privilege, but also my challenge, to draw tonight's proceedings to a close before the anthems and then a special surprise. I want to begin by thanking Nova Peris and all of our speakers and performers this evening, as well as our organising partner, the Zionist Council of New South Wales, led by Orli, Zahava and Yossi, and everyone else who had such a great effort to make tonight's success. I want to particularly acknowledge the courage of our Israeli speakers tonight, who each looked evil in the eyes and survived, and now, with such dignity and grace, tell the stories of their fallen friends and family and remind us all of the plight of the remaining hostages. We were privileged to hear from you tonight. The victims of October 7 weren't just numbers or statistics. They were and are each loved individuals. And tonight, 1 year on, we feel more deeply than ever the pain of their loved ones. To Minister Mark Butler, representing the Prime Minister, thank you for making the effort to be with us tonight and for your fine words. To Premier Chris Minns, a real mensch, thank you for your extraordinary friendship and support over the past 12 months. It's one thing to give support during easy times, but the Premier has proven himself to be a true friend by being there for us even when it wasn't easy. You've truly set the standard for leaders of governments across the country, and the Jewish community will always be grateful to you. Thank you, Chris. To Federal Opposition Leader Peter Dutton. The reception you've received tonight says it all. You've been our voice and our champion over the past year. Thank you for your unwavering solidarity and courageous leadership, your unrelenting support of the State of Israel as it fights on 7 fronts for its existence, and for being a tower of strength and beacon of moral clarity for our community at our time of need. We could not have asked for anything more from you. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to thank Peter Dutton. To New South Wales Opposition Leader Mark Speakman, thank you for standing shoulder to shoulder with our community since you first reached out almost exactly this time last year on the evening of October 7. You've been there for us both publicly and privately every day since, and a grateful community says a sincere thanks to you. I must also acknowledge former Prime Minister Morrison and his wife Jenny. You were a magnificent supporter of the State of Israel and the Jewish community during your time in office, and you've taken it to another level in the time afterwards. Thank you so much for everything. To the other parliamentarians and councillors here tonight and leaders of other communities, other distinguished guests, thank you for being here and for all of your support and solidarity in so many different ways during these tough times for the Jewish community. I also want to thank all of the sponsors which made tonight possible: JCA, UIA, JNF, ZFA, and other organisations and individuals within the community. We thank Wallara Council and its councillors for facilitating the use of this park, and to CHS for being on site to provide first aid. To CSG and New South Wales Police, thank you for keeping us safe tonight and always. But most of all, I'd like to thank each of you, the over 12,000 members and friends of the Jewish community who've made the effort to be here with us tonight. Tonight is dedicated to remembering 1,200 human beings who were murdered on that day of infamy last October, for praying for the safe return of the 101 men, women, and children still being held hostage, and to pay tribute to all of those whose lives were forever changed 1 year ago. Friends, this evening's commemoration bookends the toughest year for the Jewish people in 8 decades. In a saying widely attributed to Lenin, it is said that there are decades in which nothing happens and weeks in which decades happen. To which I'd paraphrase that there are single years in which decades happen, and we've just lived through one. The story of October 7 and its aftermath is still unfolding, as Israel, a liberal democracy, continues to fight for her survival against Iran and its proxies. It's a war which Israel never asked for, which Israel never wanted. In truth, Israelis and Jews around the world truly yearn for nothing more than to finally live in peace. But it is a war that Israel has no choice but to fight, and it is a war she will win in the face of all of those who wish to destroy her and her people. And we must and we will continue to support Israel in that quest. And the good news as we gather here tonight is that Israel is winning, and the strategic landscape in the Middle East is changing for the better. 12 months ago, we came together as a community, as proud Australian Jews, as proud Zionists, on a windswept afternoon on the cliffs of Dover Heights in a state of shock and trauma. And at that low ebb, we reminded ourselves that the Jewish people are the unbreakable people. The past year has only proven how true this was. On October 7, 2023, we and the State of Israel were knocked down. But we got back up in a way which would have brought a smile to generations of Jews which preceded us. The Israeli people and Jews around the world have been true to the moment and stood up like generations before us have done. And in doing so, we've witnessed a new generation claim the birthright of every Jew: resilience, with acts of unimaginable courage and an indomitable will to survive. Over the past 12 months, we've reminded ourselves that resilience runs through our veins, and it is what has allowed Jewish tradition and life to remain alive and thrive through centuries of turmoil and oppression. It's what sustained us throughout the ages, whether sitting on the banks of the rivers of Babylon in exile, remembering Zion, secretly practicing our faith during the Inquisition, rebuilding our homes and lives after a pogrom or a crusade, or sitting in a displaced persons camp in Europe, coming to terms with life after the Shoah. It's that same spirit which drove Israelis by the dozens to immediately go south on October 7, armed only with pistols, to fight thousands of well-armed terrorists. It's a spirit which saw heroic individuals drive up and down to the killing fields of the Nova Music Festival to seek to rescue young attendees at enormous risk to their own safety, and sadly, so many were murdered. It's what's driven hundreds of thousands of Israelis to leave their families to report to duty in the IDF over the past year, to protect their families and communities. And it's what's driven victims of October 7 to go back to their destroyed kibbutzim, to rebuild and recreate. Friends, it's that spirit which drove hostages to support one another deep in terror tunnels under Gaza in the most unimaginable of circumstances, and given families of our hostages the unimaginable strength to will themselves out of bed each morning and recite that oh so powerful refrain, set them free. And locally, it's what's motivated so many members of our community to step up and become active in communal life over the past 12 months in a way many would have never previously contemplated. It's what's driven far-flung members of our community to drive up to 6 hours to communal events because they needed to be with their community. It's a spark which has brought back individuals who hadn't entered a synagogue or engaged with our community in 20 or 30 years to rediscover their identity. The rekindling of Jewish spirit and connectedness. There is nothing we won't do for each other. And to all of those who, for no reason at all, wish ill on us, which we've sadly learned is a larger cohort than we ever thought, our response will be what it has always been. We will build an even stronger community, educate our next generation, work to repair a broken world, and be the best citizens we can be. We will never stop looking forward and building a better future while standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Community, resilience, faith. This is what has always sustained us when we were up and when we were down. This is what has sustained us over the past 12 months and what will sustain us in the days to come. We should be so proud to have inherited a tradition like this and to be part of one of the greatest stories in human history. And on nights like these, we stand united and proud, 12,000 strong, with our heads held high, as proud Australian Jews, as proud Zionists, in loving memory of our Israeli family and friends murdered on October 7 and subsequently, and to stridently demand that all of the remaining hostages be set free. Friends, we are still writing another chapter in the long story that is the Jewish people. But I've seen enough over the past year to more proudly than ever join with each of you to proclaim loudly and unequivocally, Am Yisrael Chai, Od Avinu Chai. The Jewish people live, the Australian Jewish community lives, the state of Israel lives, not survives, lives and thrives. Thank you so much.
Please rise for the Australian anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful night. And just before we get to the Hatikva to finish, we have a special musical performance which will take us through our emotions on this terrible and sad day, but hopefully lift us up with a nice, hopeful finish. Thank you for coming.
כשהלב בוכה
רק אלוהים שומע, הכאב עולה מתוך הנשמה, הדם נופל לפני שהוא שוקע, בתפילת קטנה חותכת הדממה. שמע ישראל אלוהי, אתה כה יכול, נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל, בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט, וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי, עכשיו אני לבד, חזק אותי אלוהי, עשה שלא אבחר, הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח. כשהלב בוכה, הזמן עומד מלכת, אדם רואה את כל חייו פתאום, אל הלא נודע הוא לא רוצה ללכת, לאלוהי קורא על סף תהום. שמע ישראל אלוהי, אתה כה יכול, נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל, בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט, וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי, עכשיו אני לבד, חזק אותי אלוהי, עשה שלא אבחר, הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח. שמע ישראל אלוהי, אתה כה יכול, נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל, בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט, וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי, עכשיו אני לבד, חזק אותי אלוהי, עשה שלא אבחר, הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח.
בקרוב תזרח השמש, נדע ימים יפים מאלה, הלב נלחם בדאגות, כולם יחזרו הביתה, נחכה להם למטה, הלוואי נדע בשורות טובות, כי עם הנצח לעולם לא מפחד, אפילו כשהשל ירוד, כולם יחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו המלחמות. עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל חי, כעת רוחנו מסביב ברזל של חרבות ויונה תפרוס כנפיים התקווה בת שנות 2000 עוד נצא לשיר ברחובות כי עם הנצח לעולם לא מפחד אפילו כשקשה לראות כולם ביחד אף אחד פה לא בודד שיצטרפו המלחמות עם ישראל חי אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים עם ישראל חי בעליות בירידות גם בשעות הכי קשות הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו אז מי יכול עלינו כי אין לנו עוד מדינה תעשה שלום בינינו שמור על ילדינו כי לא עבדה האמונה הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו אז מי יכול עלינו כי אין לנו עוד מדינה תעשה שלום בינינו שמור על ילדינו כי לא עבדה האמונה עם ישראל חי עם ישראל חי
Thank you. כל עוד בלב הפנימה נפש יהודי הומייה ולפתת מזרח קדימה עין לציון סופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים